On your Friday episode of Locked On Raptors, 4-12 going on 42-40.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Friday, November the 22nd. I'm your host, Sean Woodley. Been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. Just search me up at woodleyshawn.bsky.social. I got a little starter pack there with lots of Raptors pals to follow as well. If you're new to the site where we get posts off in a beautiful little echo chamber, and that's good, actually. You can also find us over on Instagram at Locked On Raptors, and you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. Come hang out. It's a great place to join sickos just like you who love the podcast, who want to talk about the Raptors during the day instead of doing work tasks. It's a great thing. You can also, of course, subscribe to the daily free Locked On Raptors newsletter. Link in the description of the podcast. Original writing from me 5 days a week. Katie Heindel 4 times a week. Michael Shearer 1 time a week. You've got Josh Lloyd fantasy tips. It's all in there. We also have newsletters for every single NBA team written by the corresponding Locked On host for those shows. So go and subscribe. Help this train keep on rolling. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood Gold, which provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. And we get rolling here on your Friday edition of the show, talking about a Toronto Raptors win, baby. 110-105 on the most beautiful court I've ever seen with my 2 eyes, rivaled only by the Phoenix Suns cactus court from the night prior. The Raptors take down the Wolves 110-105, move to 4-12 on the season. Scottie Barnes back in the lineup, a brand new starting lineup to talk about. We will get into that. We'll get into the concept of functional depth. What a beautiful thing, functional depth, and Scottie Barnes kind of knocking everyone down a little bit into the roles that they're most suited to occupy. We will get into the good, the bad, and the of course, as well. Got some thoughts on Scottie's debut. But before we get to Scottie, I just want to take a second and appreciate a little bit what this Raptors team is cooking right now. To me, right now, this is a no-lose situation if you are a Toronto Raptors fan. They are a Toronto Raptors fan, that is. They're clearly better than their 4-12 record suggests. They are getting better as they go along. The defense is making incremental improvements. The offense, you'd think, is going to get better with Scottie Barnes and eventually Emmanuel Quickley, Kelly Olynyk, Bruce Brown. Jacoby Walter was close to playing last night as well. I think he might have been actually available, just didn't get in. Either way, if they win a bunch of games here with Scottie Barnes back and some healthy run of play, great. If they lose a bunch of games, fine. The reward at the end will be good. I think for me, my sort of word of wisdom to everybody, I know everyone kind of has their agendas. Oh, this needs to be a tank season. This needs to be a season where they go and win games. Like, just throw the agendas out, baby. Just watch the fun basketball team play fun basketball games. Let yourself enjoy it one way or another. Let every result be good for one reason or another. Don't get hung up on the perceived goal for this season. Just let the team itself tell you where they're going, what the decision should be, what the direction should be. And I think it's a beautiful thing. If you're a tank believer, which is perfectly justified, don't let your lotto ball lust get in the way of enjoying a team that's kind of finding its footing and winning games and looking good even when they don't win games. And if you're someone who really is staunchly opposed to tanking, if you're someone who thinks it's anti-competitive and all of that, that's okay, because this team is still competitive. They are wired to be competitive. They are tryhards. Maybe their talent means they lose more games than they win, maybe a lot more games than they win. But that doesn't mean that it can't be fun and enjoyable, even if the losses are piling up. This is the sort of nexus between low expectations and high entertainment value that is very rare when you watch a team. You get to certain points where the expectations go up and the entertainment value means less, because if they're playing entertaining games but losing, your expectations being high make you feel bad when they lose. And the other way goes too. If they're really bad and there's zero expectation and they're losing games kind of in line with that, and they're the Portland Trailblazers of the last couple seasons, or the Detroit Pistons of the last couple seasons, and it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, that's a nightmare too. They are at perfect balance right now. It's the no-lose situation. If you're a Toronto Raptors fan, everything is a win. Everything is blissful. It's a very rare thing. Don't let yourself lose that, because this won't last forever. It might not last deeper into this season. Maybe they stop being competitive in games. Maybe they go on such a heater that you start to expect things in the postseason. Like, for now, no matter what, the team is fun. I look forward to every game. I think most people are looking forward to every game. And now that they have Scottie Barnes back, it makes them actually serious hitters in a lot of these games who have more capacity to win the games that they've come up on the short end of so far to start the year. That's my opening screed. Let's get into Scottie Barnes, shall we? He is back. He played pretty darn well last night. He was on a minutes restriction, played just 27 minutes. Didn't like command the offense or anything like that. Kind of picked his spots here and there. But I thought Scottie Barnes was pretty awesome in his return. 17 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, a steal, 5 of 11 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, including 1 in rhythm pull-up 3. You'll take that. Love to see that. Obviously you still want to see him kind of hunt shots at the rim and his short mid-range offense and all of that. He'll get more acclimatized. Minutes restrictions are hard. They kind of, mess with your rhythm a little bit. And we'll get into the starting lineup. I think just in general, the rhythm was a little bit off because it's a lineup that hasn't played together literally ever before last night. But overall, I thought Scottie, especially in the fourth quarter, as the Raptors locked this one down, he did a lot of really good things in this one on both ends of the floor. The impact of him on defense is just so notable. They swapped Davion Mitchell out. Although Mitchell did close this game, you bring in Scottie, and just the size increase is palpable. The extra rim protection, the extra threat lurking behind guys' drives is there, and they're mindful of it. And he's just a really damn smart, heady defensive player as well. There was one sequence in the fourth quarter to me that just kind of exemplified, oh yeah, Scottie's just got a head on his shoulders. He knows what's going on at all times. He understands the matchups at play. He can make quick decisions and reads in a matter of like a split second. There's a possession in the fourth quarter. This is, I think, just as they're kind of jockeying back and forth, lead changes back and forth, it's tied. This is before the Raptors go on their 17-3 run, or at the very beginning of their 17-3 run to put this one away. At one point, Anthony Edwards gets Chris Boucher isolated on a switch. Not what you want. Chris Boucher, we've seen his exploits as a perimeter defender this season. Not much to write home about there, unless those letters are mean and nasty. It's been really bad for him getting blown by. He leaves his feet too much, all of that. You can see just Anthony Edwards salivating at the idea of either blowing by Chris Boucher or shaking him off and getting a pull-up 3 off, because Anthony Edwards loves to get pull-up 3s off these days. And as this is developing, as Edwards looks like he's kind of loading up to start to make his move, Scottie Barnes, who's on the far wing, slides over and just kind of like a flash double team, just gets huge, kind of just pops. Oh my God, hey, I'm here. And Anthony Edwards sees that and instantly swings it back over towards Scottie's guy on the wing. Scottie rotates back. There's a swing to the corner. There's a miss. The Raptors get the rebound. That just small little decision by Scottie. I don't think this was like a set or designed double team. It was just him seeing, oh God, there's trouble. I got to put that fire out before it starts. He goes over, throws the fire blanket on, and the possession ends up with a Raptors stop. Like, that is the Scottie Barnes that this defense has sorely missed. And the defense has come a long way. It's making gains. They are up to 24th in the NBA in defensive rating right now, which is not any great shakes. But if you take out just the Cleveland game at the start of the year, they're up to 21st. It's just a steady climb. They're making their way, and Scottie Barnes being back is a huge deal there. Obviously, on offense as well, a few situations where the point guard the pick and roll operation with him as the nominal point guard at times really solid. Some craft with him and Jakob. We know that chemistry is there. Those two guys running pick and roll together, it's like a 2-on-2 wrestling match inside a phone booth where they somehow land every hit. It's kind of wild. Not a lot of space. It's very cramped confines at times, but the way Scottie covers ground with his sort of side-to-side steps and bounds, and the way Yak creates space even when there is no space, those two guys have a great connection. There's just so many nice connections with Jakob in pick and roll. He's the common denominator, obviously. He makes it easier on his ball handlers just by being Jakob, having the catch radius, having the finishing, having the Gortat screens where he's clearing the lane and moving guys out of the way. It's awesome to see. And it's great to see that Scottie and RJ and, eventually quickly are able to kind of leverage what Yak does as a roller into looks for themselves. That was awesome. You obviously have the big turnaround jumper from Scottie late in this game that he gets the sort of front rim pop and goes in. That's beautiful. That's his office. Just a very encouraging return for Scottie Barnes after 3+ weeks off. Wearing the glasses, very strange glasses, looking just like my father-in-law in his workshop, welding away or something. But yeah, I don't think you can be anything but happy with the return for Scottie Barnes, and it's going to get better. The starting lineup is going to figure each other out. We'll get into that coming up in just a second. The new starting five, the functional depth, and the way everyone kind of got knocked down in their roles to great effect. We will get into that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by a new sponsor here. It's Chime. We've all had a point in our lives where we realized we needed to make some serious money moves. You can take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Learn more at chime.com/NBA. Here's how it works. If you don't want to go to the website just yet, though you should, set up a direct deposit in your Chime account. After a qualifying direct deposit of $200 or more, Chime will notify you to enroll in Spot Me. With an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to $200 when you exceed your balance. Your next direct deposit is applied directly to your negative balance. Chime never charges fees or interest for using Spot Me. Make all your fall finances a little greener by working towards your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. That's chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by The Bank Corp NA or Stride Bank NA. Members FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time, the single best place to go buy tickets for the sporting events, concerts, theater shows you want to go to. I love Game Time. I'm a regular user of Game Time. It's a great way to go get tickets for whatever you want, including Toronto Raptors games. The Raptors are winning games, baby, and it's fun. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They're on the road for now, but if you want to go catch them on the road, they're in Cleveland over the weekend. That's a good place to go catch a game. I've been to games in Cleveland before. It's tons of fun. Make the drive down. If you want to make an impromptu Sunday trip, you can go find tickets at Game Time last minute. And the closer you get to the game, very often you're saving money because those tickets are going down in price. They have seat views, the lowest price guarantee, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Down the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Well, it's game time, of course. Back at it here on your Friday edition of Locked On Raptors, sending you off into the weekend. A reminder, check out the Locked On Raptors newsletter. Link in the description. I'll have some words on the game from last night and some bigger picture stuff for Toxic Positivity Friday, which we're putting on hold for the podcast today. We'll get to it in a sec with our good, bad, and there's lots of good stuff in there. And it's hard to not just be regular old positive today, coming off of a win against the Wolves. But the newsletter, Toxic Positivity Friday, lives on as it will every Friday throughout the year. Again, struggle with this one because it's not toxic at all to feel positive about this team at the moment, I think. Either way, let's get into I guess this is a thing we can be toxically positive about. Sure. Let's weave in some Toxic Positivity Friday. Functional depth, baby. Having multiple good players, both in your starting lineup and in your reserve units. What a wonderful thing that the Raptors seem to have found themselves as they've dealt with the injury bug, right? This is the silver lining that you always hear about. Oh, well, injuries, next man up. Guys are going to get a chance. It doesn't always work that way. You don't always get major steps from guys when important players are out of the lineup. And, you're seeing that with teams like, say, the New Orleans Pelicans, who are just hot ass right now. They stink and need their guys back. They're not really finding extra functional depth. The Raptors kind of did and found guys who can do more and sort of have more on their plate than we maybe thought before. RJ Barrett, obviously the main example here with this sort of newfound and discovered pick and roll craft that he's been working on. And by the way, RJ Barrett, pretty awesome last night without having to be the main focus of the defense. 31 points, 10 of 14, 10 of 12 from the line. You love that. 10 of 12 at the line for RJ. Hit some free throws in the fourth quarter. That's great news for him. And again, just everyone now with Scottie Barnes back and eventually quickly back as well, everyone's kind of getting knocked back down into the roles that they're sort of more suited to occupy. It's not something where you need Gradey Dick to go and take 20 shots just for your offense to have a chance. He can have a game where he's maybe a little quieter. He goes 4 of 9, only hits 1 3, but he's effective. He has 9 points, and it's not a backbreaker for you that Gradey Dick only has 9 points. Same goes for Ochai Agbaji, right? When Ochai has himself a rough game and only goes 2 of 5, misses his only 3, that's perfectly fine. They didn't even have to close with Ochai in this game because they had other guys that could cycle in. Chris Boucher got fourth quarter time. Obviously, Davion Mitchell did down the stretch as well. And this is just the beauty of having more than like 6 or 7 good players or useful players. Like, this was the real sort of downfall of the late era Nick Nurse Raptors and the early era Darko Rajakovic Raptors, where they just didn't have anyone who could keep you afloat when your best players weren't on the floor, whether for injury or just because everyone's got a rest at some point. And I think we saw last night with the way the Raptors aligned their starting 5, with the way they used Davion Mitchell as a bench guy, but also a closer. Like, there is functional, real depth here for the Raptors. Even Jonathan Mogbo, we'll get to him in the good, the bad, and the he was awesome last night. Like, he doesn't have to do everything. He can be like a perfectly functional ninth man. He's not asked to do a ton, but the things he does do are really effective and help winning basketball. Let's quickly talk about the starters. The first time that we've seen this lineup play together at all, it was, of course, RJ Barrett, Scottie Barnes, Gradey Dick, Ochai Agbaji, and Jakob Poeltl. And they didn't perform super well in this game. They were a -9 in their 10 minutes together. That's fine. It's one game, tiny sample against a Wolves team with a good starting 5. It's not terribly concerning. And you could definitely see there was some jank to the way they were playing. There was, the timing was just a little bit off, slow to develop in the offense. They, a couple times you'd see guys like cutting to the same spots or cutting into each other's drives. That's just like, similar to, your first time playing pickup and your first run of the game, where you're kind of learning your teammates. There's going to be some, crossed wires. There's going to be a learning of one another. And as you go and play more runs, then you figure each other out. It's the same idea with the Raptors starting 5. These guys have played together, in 2 and 3 and 4 man combos. That's like not like they're foreign to playing with one another. But that lineup in particular with Scottie and RJ is kind of the 2 main creative forces, and Jakob and Gradey and Ochai kind of filling out the flanks. Like, yeah, it's going to take some time to iron out just, how crisply they run their actions and stuff like that. And they'll get there. I have no concerns about that. I didn't think it was a bad call at all by Darko Rajakovic to put Mitchell in for Agbaji to close this game. Thought Mitchell had himself a damn good game defensively, not so much on offense. He didn't hit a shot, but this is the thing now, right? The functional depth thing again. Davion Mitchell doesn't have to be everything for you on the offensive end. He doesn't have to guide your offense at some high level of precision. That's just not a thing he can do. He's someone who dribbles the ball a whole lot. He averages 4.5 seconds per touch, 4.5 dribbles per touch, both number 1 on the team. He slows things down a little bit. He kind of dribbles the life out of the ball. Yeah, he gets assists, but that's, I think, more a function of the Raptors being just an assist factory than anything else. The offense is a struggle with him, but you don't care about the offense being a struggle with him when he's coming off the bench and you're not asking him to be the load bearer for your offense. He can just come in and play maniac defense like he did against Anthony Edwards for long stretches of that game last night. And Edwards had himself a pretty rough go. He goes 9 of 20, hit a really bad first half, picked it up in the second, looked like he might just go nuclear and kind of win the game for them in the second half, but kind of tailed off near the end of the fourth quarter. And Davion Mitchell was a big part of that. Like, he is as advertised as a defensive player. I think, the last couple of years in Sacramento weren't super kind to him and his reputation. I think his on-court sort of impact stats never quite matched to his reputation as off-night Davion Mitchell. He's very much off night right now. He is killing it on the defensive end. And Darko Rajakovic talked about this after the game when he was asked about why he used the starting 5 he did. He cited, having more size in there, being not a bad thing by any means. And he also talked about kind of Mitchell just getting bumped down to the role that he's going to occupy on this team for the lion's share of this season, especially once Emmanuel Quickley gets back. But even now, without Quickley going with this other starting 5, Mitchell can just kind of come in and be a tone shifter, be someone who is playing in lineups against a lot of other teams' second units where maybe you can get away with his offensive limitations a little bit more, and he can just kind of go focus on being an absolute hellion on defense. And man, oh man, did he ever do that? He was a +20 in this game a game in which he did not make a field goal. That is really hard and like impressive. And you can't really stomach him going 0 for 4 from the field if he is your starting point guard, right? Like you need more from him. You need those couple catch and shoot threes to fall. You need a couple times where he's breaking a guy down in a one-on-one situation and getting to the rim and scoring. You didn't have to have that last night. All you needed was Davion Mitchell bringing his incredible, insane maniac defense, and that was enough to make him a viable 7th, 8th man, in this case, like a 6th man in this game. You also have Chris Boucher, right? Where earlier in the season where they've been hurt, it has felt like Chris Boucher explosions are necessities for the Raptors to win. And yeah, they probably don't win last night without Chris Boucher going off. But I think now in the role he's going to occupy here, not having to be like the first or second sub in off the bench who is being counted upon for offense, because again, everyone's kind of knocked down a slot and there's just like more talent to disperse through your lineups. You know, Boucher can kind of have these nights where he goes totally nuclear. He goes for 22 points, 3 of 8 from downtown, 7 of 13 overall, has himself a really nice offensive game. And it's a luxury, right? It's not a necessity for winning as much as it felt like it was last night because, 22 points. That was an important 22 points in a game they won by 5 for sure. But my point is like, yeah, you don't need him being everything for you. You can live with the bad Chris Boucher nights, and there are going to be bad Chris Boucher nights. He is a very whack-a-mole player, not super predictable night to night what you're going to get. But you can live with him not being incredible when you have a little bit more functionality with your depth chart. So yeah, I think overall pretty encouraging stuff for a team that, yeah, they're 4-12, but look at the teams ahead of them in the East. Look at the state they're in. Look at the disrepair of a lot of these rosters and injuries and just kind of general lifelessness when it comes to how they're playing. The Raptors are ticking up in a lot of ways. A lot of these other teams are kind of neutral or ticking down. Functional depth goes a long way in the NBA. If you have 9, 10, 11 usable NBA players, which I think the Raptors do at full health, they might be close to that right now with a couple of guys still out. That's a really, really powerful thing in the regular season grind. And so, yeah, 4-12. Wasn't kidding when I let off the show with 4-12 going on 42-40. It's not super likely, of course, but there's a world here where they get healthy and even without Emmanuel quickly are able to string together some wins here as they trudge forward more into the middle part of the season. We're going to come back on the other side, get into the good, the bad, and the We're going to talk about Jonathan Mogbo being everywhere all the time. He's wonderful. We're also going to talk about whatever the hell is going on with the transition offense, which was probably the worst part of last night. We'll get into all that coming up to close out the show in just 1 second. Today's show is sponsored by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows you to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high-end net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up for Robinhood Gold at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Closing things out here with the good, the bad, and the the way we round out every episode of this here podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. Again, a win last night over the Wolves. You love to see it. Second win in a row. They're streaking, baby. A thing I liked, thing I didn't like, thing that's got me a little bit intrigued. Let's get to the good. Jonathan Mogbo, man. Just a lot of good stuff in this game from Jonathan Mogbo off the bench. His nose for the ball is like an outlier skill. His way of tracking offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, finding loose balls, poking balls free with deflections. It's a real, actual skill that's hard to teach. You can't teach it. It's just kind of instinct, right? He had an offensive rebound in this game. I think it was his last offensive rebound of the game where it's like kind of a long rebound out near the free throw line. And he just kind of swoops in and one-hands it, kicks it out to Chris Boucher. Boucher drives and gets fouled, gets a couple free throws out of it. Like that kind of stuff. It's just like the intuition of knowing the angles and the path of the ball off the rim that it seems like Mogbo just kind of has an innate skill for. Pretty awesome stuff. The defense with him, man. I'm blown away by how good this rookie who played at a low major college or mid, I don't know, what is USF? It's not a major college, that's for sure. Like the way he's able to slide his feet with some of the best players in the NBA already is baffling. This is not what rookies do on defense. Jonathan Mogbo is, for my money, one of the most special defensive prospects in all of basketball right now. It is a thrill to watch him work on that end. Multiple possessions of sliding his feet with Julius Randle, totally stonewalling him, forcing the ball out, knocking it free. A couple times again, for the second time in 2 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves, sizing up Anthony Edwards, going toe-to-toe for him and forcing an air ball. That's crazy. Anthony Edwards can't miss this season, and Jonathan Mogbo has forced him into multiple air balls in just a couple of games playing with him. And there's one possession that stood out in this game that is indicative of A, Jonathan Mogbo being rad as hell on defense, and B, oh boy, there's something wrong with the Wolves. They are weird. They have bad vibes. I'm not even talking about the Rudy Gobert 3-point violation, or sorry, 3-second violation late in the game that ends up costing a possession for the Wolves, and then Gobert fouls Barnes in frustration at the other end, and the Raptors end up going up and never look back. I'm talking about in the first half. Anthony Edwards gets Chris Boucher switched onto him, and again, like that play in the second half I outlined earlier, I'm sitting there like, oh God, Ant is going to absolutely fly by Boucher and dunk on someone here. I misread this when I first saw the play. I thought in this situation, Ant was calling up Rudy Gobert for a screen, but upon second watch today, you can see Ant Edwards is there. He's got Boucher on him. He's ready to load up his drive. And then Rudy Gobert starts to come up and set a screen. And you can see Ant waving him off and being like, no, don't do it. I don't need it. Rudy keeps on coming. He sets the screen anyway. They switch. Jonathan Mogbo was then switched on to Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards can't get a foot of ground. Scottie Barnes is there offering help at the nail, and Anthony Edwards puts up an air ball. Boy, oh boy, something's rotten with the Wolves. They broke their team. They never should have traded Cat. They're disgusting. But yeah, Jonathan Mogbo, pretty incredible defensively. Yeah, he's also getting better. I noticed as a screen setter, running a lot of pick and roll with RJ Barrett in that really fun RJ plus bench lineup, actually making real solid contact, rolling into space. I feel like learning from Jakob Poeltl how to screen and operate as a big in space who can't shoot, probably going to be all right for Jonathan Mogbo's development. Yeah, big time. Really enjoyed the Jonathan Mogbo experience in this game. He is my good bonus good, by the way. I talked about it off the top again, though, but God, that court rules. Make it the court always. Go back to the Dino logo. We all want purple. Do it, please. What are we doing here? 10 out of 10, no notes on that court. And even the jerseys, I'm like pretty lukewarm on. But the jerseys on that court look fantastic. Hell yeah. We love purple. Make it the full-time thing next year, please. The bad. What the hell is going on with the Raptors transition offense? This was the thing that kept them alive last season. They were, by most metrics, the best or second best transition team in all of basketball last year. They led the league in frequency. They ran more than anybody else. They scored, I believe, the second most points per possession, and they were first in points added per 100 possessions through transition. It's not been very good so far this year. And last night, I think, was the low point of their transition attack. Last night, the Raptors averaged 0.786 points per play in transition. That is like about half of what they were doing last year when they were absolutely marauding in transition. Like, they were so good, maybe not half, but still, they were so good finishing in transition. The sort of conductor Scottie Barnes, not having Scottie for most of the season, probably affecting that. But Scottie was there last night, and they were terrible in transition. It cost them points to run in transition last night. They were worth minus 2.6 points added per 100 per cleaning the glass on their transition possessions last night. Really bad stuff. Ugly turnovers, kind of awkward chemistry, weird passes, kicking it away, looking too deferential almost at times when there's a lane to go up, kind of looking to pass or not looking to pass when there's not a lane to go up. Of course, aside from the Gradey Dick rebound, coast-to-coast lob to RJ Barrett, which was incredible, which brought the damn house down. That was very cool. That was the high point of their transition attack. But yeah, 27th in points per play in transition this season. Very weird. I don't know how much to buy into it. Like, they seem to have a good transition team. guys who can play well in transition. Davion Mitchell's a good transition player. RJ Barrett was last year, maybe not so much this year so far. We know Scottie Barnes is good on the run. You'd think they'll figure it out, but yeah, it's been a little bit weird, and it's been it was certainly the bad thing of last night, no doubt. Tracking the defense's uptick. The defense, man, and it looked pretty good last night. That extra size in the starting five, looking pretty good. Gotta say, I enjoyed it quite a bit. And over the last 5 games, don't look now, your Toronto Raptors, number 10 in defensive rating per NBA.com. It's 5 games. It's a tiny sample, but you're seeing the incremental progress of what they've been doing, of kind of schooling this high pickup point, super aggressive defense. They seem to be getting more comfortable and knowing, where to rotate and who's on the string and all of that. They are 5th right now in transition defense by points allowed per play. So, balancing out what they're doing or not doing on offense in transition and doing a really damn good job of making sure other teams are not scoring in transition on them. And they're 7th best at limiting transition possessions, which is really impressive considering they are the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the league. Yes, a part of them limiting transition is they get a lot of offensive rebounds, and those are putbacks, and then you're getting back and your defense is getting set. But they're also crashing quite a bit for offensive rebounds, which usually translates to giving up odd man advantages the other way. They're not doing that. They've coached this sort of balance of offensive rebounding and transition really well. It's kind of wild. They've become more of a half court team than anything, right? They're still running a reasonable amount, kind of middle of the league on offense, but really they're kind of working half court quite often on both ends of the floor. And you're seeing some slight growth there as well. They're also 14th in half court defense per cleaning the glass since November the 1st, which is something. They were really good in the half court last night. The Wolves last night in total, just 107.2 offensive rating, 27th percentile offensive game of all games played this season for teams. And then in the half court last night as well, 91.5 points per play or points per 100 possessions. That's very bad, 32nd percentile. So yeah, progress being made by a Raptors defense to start of the season off real rough. We're going to leave it there and send you off into the weekend. Thank you so much for rocking with the show, for hanging out. This is super fun, watching a fun team. Win or lose, man, the Raptors are a blast. They are must-see TV right now, and I'm having a great time. We'll talk on Monday about the game against the Cavaliers. On Sunday, boy, oh boy, would that be fun to go into Cleveland to pick up a win against the 16-1 Cavaliers. Likely not happening, but the Raptors are pretty tight, man. They're pretty frisky. They nearly beat the Celtics last weekend. They're the kind of team that, as our pal John Corrales on Locked In NBA Game Night today just said, the Raptors, you have to beat them. They are not going to beat themselves. You have to beat them because they are try-hard maniacs, and that's a recipe for winning games you maybe shouldn't. So stay tuned for Sunday. We'll talk about that game on Monday. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to the newsletter. Link in the description. It's free to do. Helps me out big time when you do it. I love you all very much for doing so. And it's a nice thing to get to your inbox. It's free. There's no downside to doing it. You get it every day. My original writing. Of course, you can also join the Discord. Link in the description of the podcast. We'd love to see you there. Follow on socials, Blue Sky, Instagram, all the good stuff. And we'll talk to you again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye. Ooh.